Hey, it's Ray. Welcome to Chubby Ray Comics. All right, you guys, I got another question. This one's from Brandon. It says, Chubby Ray, what's the best Flash comics? I love this question. This is the kind of question I want. Best Flash comics? All right, let me run down a list. And I'll find you the best Flash comics. Okay, let's start with this honorable mention. Mark Waid's Return of Barry Allen. This is Mark Waid run. Now, I'm a fan of Barry Allen. I'm not a big Wally West fan, but this is a good book by Mark Waid. It's Return of Barry Allen. Of course, Barry Allen title. You know I'm going to love it. That's my honorable mention. Here's my next honorable mention. I love, this is a more recent one. It's The Search for Barry Allen. I love this book. Search for Barry Allen was fantastic. It actually happened during the Dark Crisis event, which wasn't that long ago. But this was during Dark Crisis, The Search for Barry Allen. So I would put that on my honorable mention list, all right? Here we go. The next honorable mention, Geoff Johns, Gary Frank, Rebirth. This is Wally West Flash, but also Barry Allen is in it as well. But this is a great story. This kicked off the whole Rebirth era. It kicked off the Doomsday Clock. It kicked off everything. This is a great story, and it's a Flash story. Don't get me wrong. It's a whole DC Comics story, but I'm telling you, it's mainly a Flash story. If you get a chance to read this book, the Flash stuff in it is fantastic. So I would go DC Rebirth. All right, number 5, Flash War. Joshua Williamson story, Flash War. It is fantastic. It's Barry Allen versus Wally West, and it is a great story. I would put this at number 5 in my top best stories. I love this. All right, number 4, Joshua Williamson again. This is Flash Finish Line. This was a great story. This was wrapping up the entire Rebirth run for Barry Allen. I mean, Williamson came in and he did Flash. He did the Flash from beginning of Rebirth all the way to this one. It was great. And then Jeremy Adams took over, and Jeremy Adams gave us The Search for Barry Allen. But prior to that, it was Joshua Williamson, who's one of my favorite writers, and I loved what he did with this book, Finish Line. Number 4 of my best Flash stories. Let's get to the top 3. Number 3, another book written by Joshua Williamson and Tom King, and it was a crossover with Batman. It took place in both The Flash and Batman, which was The Button. I love The Button. The Button is Barry Allen and Bruce Wayne, and this book leads into the Doomsday Clock, which is great. So you got Flash stories. You know, the Flash started off the Rebirth era with DC Rebirth. And then the Flash, the Button, a major part of the DC Rebirth era. Isn't this the coolest cover ever? Number 3 of my best Flash stories. All right, number 2, Geoff Johns, another one of the greatest authors of all time, and Flash Rebirth. This is when the Flash was killed. If you don't know history, I'll give it to you now, but everybody should know this. The Flash was killed during Crisis on Infinite Earths. If you remember Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Flash disappeared and he was dead, and he never returned. This is from 1985. He died and they never brought him back. He showed up in Infinite Crisis for a second, and then they ended up doing a rebirth of the Flash. And that's what brought Barry Allen back. This is the book that did it, and it's fantastic. It's Flash Rebirth. This is a great buy for anybody who's a Flash fan. Number 2 of the greatest Flash stories of all time. And number 1, there's no doubt what this is going to be. Geoff Johns, Andy Kubert. Of course, it's Flashpoint. Now, I'm showing you the omnibus because the omnibus is awesome. The omnibus has everything. It has everything Flash involved. I mean, you name it. It's just got every part of the Flash story is in here. And the omnibus for Flashpoint is fantastic. But not everybody can get the omnibus. I understand that. Maybe you could just get the trade paperback, which is great. It was a fantastic story. Flashpoint, best Flash story of all time. If you don't know, the Flash goes back in time to save his mother, which was the most traumatic part of his life, was losing his mother at a young age. So he goes back in time to save his mother's life. He finds out that Reverse Flash is the one who killed his mother. So he goes back in time and saves her. And when he does it, he screws up everything. I don't want to give any more spoilers away, but if you like Batman, you'll love Thomas Wayne. Thomas Wayne's a big part of this book as well. If you've never read Flashpoint, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It is a fantastic story, the best Flash story of all time. I love the question, brother. I love it. Best Flash stories of all time. I could have pulled a bunch more Flash stuff, like Road to Flashpoint. How about the dastardly death of the Rogues? Oh my God. How about The Secret of Barry Allen, another Jeff Johns book? In fact, I think all these books were written by Jeff Johns. Yeah, all three of those books I just showed were written by Jeff Johns. But the Flash is one of the greatest heroes in DC Universe history. The best Flash stories. This was a joy to do. Thanks for the question. I appreciate you watching the video, and I'll talk to you soon.